from Barrington District 220. It happened in July, but not until now are people realizing what it is. And parents were complaining about the books that were available to their children in the school library.
Grades 3 through 5, all about romantic and sexual feelings and masturbation. How is it age appropriate to require 6th through 8th graders to define vagina, anal, and oral sex? No part of these standards are acceptable.
And they even went after the Bible and some of these books that are on the shelf, making things up.
First of all, both of these books are openly anti-Christian. This book is gay, goes as far as to say that David, from David and Goliath, was homosexual. There's a chapter called The Ins and Outs of Gay Sex, where the author talks about jobs, detailed descriptions, even goes as far as to give instructions on how to clean out your rectum prior to having homosexual anal sex. That's not wholesome. That's not the half of it, though. Let's get to the glossary. We have a glory hole. You know what a glory hole is? How about rimming or scat? Apparently scat, I learned this from this book. Scat is apparently eating poop.
Oh,
Scissor Sisters? Are you all out of your minds with this?
And what are the board members? Listen to her response. These books, I can't do anything.
As a board member, it's not my job to screen books. There's many, many books in the library. We have qualified staff, qualified librarians.
Very reasonable.
Anybody else?
But I think the most stunning moment came when a father got out the book, First Inflamer, and the board member responded, and that board member being Dr. Alt Schuler.
The First Inflamer, there is a part of this book where a bunch of boys masturbate into a bottle.
Hey.
And they say that whichever boy does not ejaculate has to drink the bottle. Now, can any of you look at this crowd and objectively say that that is not obscene?
I have to talk about Flamer just for a second, okay? I am not Filipino. I am not in the closet. I am not Christian. I was never in the Boy Scouts. And this book spoke to me.
And that is one of the board members that our next guests are trying to take out. There's an open seat for Barrington District 220. There's that Dr. Alt Schuler that you just heard, who hopefully will be replaced, and Leah Lazari. She's also, and we have a slate of candidates joining us in our studio, and we want to welcome them to the program. Leonard Munson, Katey Baldassano, and Matt Sheriff joins us by phone. So Katey, ladies first, let's start with you. Tell us what your reaction when you heard what happened, what transpired at this board meeting, and how the board members didn't care. Did that inspire you to run?
You know, I was at that meeting, so it wasn't like I just heard about it. I think the most horrifying thing is that parents just want to be able to control what their own children have access to. And that is one of the many reasons, including some others related to academics, that I chose to run for school board, is that parents want to be able to trust the school that they are going to curate an age-appropriate library. And you can see from the tape that they are not doing that. And we have to hold the school board accountable and the district staff to put books and materials in front of our kids that we can trust.
But that one board member said, I have no choice of this. I can't ban books. Can school board members take books off the shelves at libraries?
So there is a process in place, and what's been happening in 220 is that parents have been kind of challenging individual books, kind of going book by book. And that doesn't seem to be working, because when it goes through the process, the board, these Leah Lazari and Dr. Altschuler, tend to just say, yeah, it's great, let's keep it. And so what needs to happen is the school board needs to put some policies in place to ensure that there are some age filters on content.
Boom.
We need parents to have the choice to opt in to content that is X-rated or R-rated, because we understand that for some people think that school libraries need to have those books, but parents need to be able to decide, I don't want my kids to have access to those books. Now, Leah Lazari would say, oh, parents can say, my child can't check that book out. My child can't check a different book out. But that puts parents having to read every single book in the library and on the iPad, because all these books are on the iPad. And so we need a system in place, part of registration possibly, that says, I would like to opt into this obscene content. Probably wouldn't call it that, but that needs to be the procedure in place.
Leonard Munson, I'll keep saying your names as much as possible so it sinks in. That book, First Inflamer, that was so graphic and disgusting, that things with a bottle and all that. Is that still on the shelf?
It is still on the shelf, and I have a 16-year-old, and I don't want my son to have access to that. And he's at the library, and he has his iPad, so there's no control mechanism on that. That you couldn't walk down the street and show that to a 15-year-old kid on the street without someone calling the cops. You would call the cops on a person that was showing that book on the street. And these current board members are elated by the fact that that book is accessed with everybody.
They're celebrating. It's like a celebratory. Well, that book reached to me.
Absolutely.
That book reached you? You're talking about horrible things and then drinking bodily fluids?
Absolutely. And that is something, I spent 20 years in the military. That would be hazing and you would be in jail. So that is not even something that you would do in society. We have issues against some of that stuff. And these are books that we don't want to ban books. We want to put some controls in. That's all we're asking. And they will say that, well, a panel of parents and a panel of administrators looked at this book. Mm-hmm. The panel is one administrator, one teacher, one librarian, and one parent. Read the book and give a recommendation. So it's like the fox looking at the hen house, right? You've given access, and it's not a panel. And they'll even say, we just were on a call where they say, oh, parents looked at this. Oh, parents have accepted this. There were over 2,000 signatures from the parents in the district requesting these books be removed, and they completely forgot it.
Here's what I'm glad you did.
Too much control.
Here's what I'm glad you did. You said we're not trying to ban books. We're trying to create some system of access, because that's I personally don't want these books banned, because I really believe in freedom, and I don't think a lot of people really understand.
You don't want
freedom.
that. You would want your kid to have access to that book.
I don't want my kids to have access to it.
I was going to say we're going to end our friendship.
But I said I don't believe it should be banned. It's information. But I just want to know what speaks to you about swallowing sperm.
Right. That's smart.
What's definitely what I don't get what anything speaks to you about swallowing sperm. I just don't get it. Whoever doesn't ejaculate gets to drink the bottle. That's sick. That's grooming. That's perverted.
Yeah.
And it is grooming. It is grooming. Absolutely.
All right. I want to play another soundbite before we go to our third. I was going to say contestant. Third person in Barrington 220 that's running for school district. This is about sex acts that are going on in middle school bathrooms.
First of all, my middle school son has a kid that repeatedly masturbates in the classroom. My daughter, again a middle schooler, had two things happen to her. She was in the girls' bathroom stall going to the bathroom, and 2 stalls over she heard noises. Sounded like boys, she said. So she finished up and started to head to the sink when her friend walked in and went towards that stall. The door was now open. She saw 2 boys having oral sex in the stall.
Matt, welcome to the program. You're the third candidate running, and these 3 are on a slate. So were you at that school board meeting as well? Matt, are you there?
Excuse me. Yeah. I don't remember if I was personally at that school board meeting. A lot of them I've had to just watch on YouTube. But there's a couple of comments I want to make. One is that, look, we can't solve every ill that goes on in a school. And look, what that parent was talking about is completely unacceptable. But it's also a result of unserious, unqualified people being on a board. God only knows how they slid into this board, because these are not serious adults. And you can tell by every decision that they make. And I want to go back to the books real quick, because that's what got started it for me. A friend of mine showed me some of the excerpts from the book, pictures that he took on his phone at the gym, and I thought he was joking. Mm-hmm. And when it was brought up to the board, they're so dismissive of everyone in the community. It's offensive to me. And they claim, at least half the community wants this. That is so untrue. If anyone has attended any of our board meetings, it is definitely majority saying it's not right for the school. And here's the deal. It's not the subject matter of the book. It's the sexual content of the book. I believe that we can do better for our children. And I think that we can find books, if it's about giving access to books where kids feel like they can, there's subject matter that can help them, wonderful. But does it have to be books that are so sexually explicit? I think we can do better. And like Leonard said, we're not about banning books. We're just about making sure that there's a process in place that the children can't just grab any book off the shelf that maybe their parent doesn't agree with.
So that book, First in Flamer, is that available at a middle school level or high school level or both?
Flamer is only available now at the high school.
Okay, but still, it's pornography.
Yeah.
I mean, plain and simple. So
no way around that.
We early voting starts on Monday. The slate: Leonard, Munson, Katey Baldassano, and Matt Sheriff. I got that right. But you also have an open library seat, right? Or is there somebody running for the library board?
So
position?
the Barrington Library has 3 open seats, and we are also supporting 3 candidates that are going to really try to steward the money of the library well and really make sure the library stays a family-friendly place. So they're, can I say their name?
You better say Kelly.
okay.
You better say
Okay,
Kelly.
so
better say their name.
Kelly Dittman
That's
is
right.
running for a 2-year term.
Kelly Dittman.
One of the hardest working people in Barrington, too.
Really?
She's
Oh, yeah.
awesome. She's
Okay.
awesome. And then Chase Heidner is running for a 6-year term.
Okay. I'm literally writing this down. All right, go. And the
And then
third?
Kristen Cunningham's running for a 6-year term as well. So the 3 of them are running on a slate as well to make some balance and some change and make it more accessible and user friendly and same type of thing. If they're a book, so if you want the book, you go there to the library and get it.
Well, you know
make it
who's after
accessible.
you. You know who wants you. Governor Pritzker. He was on with Face the Nation. Oh, yeah. This is what he had to say.
Well, I think broadcasting our values here in Illinois is good for the state of Illinois. That we are opposed to banning books in the state of Illinois is something that people ought to know about us. That we are not interfering with the education system in the state and the way that a teacher presents, their information to their classroom, their kids. That we're lifting up education. We're not tearing it down.
And he said in an interview on Face the Nation that he is going to go after right-wing conservatives who try and take over the school boards because it starts there. And he's pumped $500,000 into defeating good working, hardworking, loving parents like you.
Well, here's
So
the
much
thing.
for nonpartisan local elections.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, our governor, after spending $150 million each time he wanted to become governor on himself, he gave $11 million to Illinois candidates, Democrats, who he wanted. He paid for 2 Supreme Court justices to get on the Supreme Court. And now this, but even to go on national news and talk about right-wing, crazy, conservative Republicans who are trying to change the world.
I mean, here's the thing. We are running because we want parents to have a voice, but we also want our kids to be able to read and write. At the middle school in Barrington, only about 30% of the kids are reading and doing math at grade level.
What?
That's a concern.
In Barrington?
So
Where they got all the money to fund all this stuff? I mean, come on. Wow.
Only 30%?
it's around 30, 32. It depends on the reading and the math, but that's about where we're hovering. And so we're running so we can focus on getting our kids back on track after being shut down, e-learning, wearing these masks. And overall as a district, only around 50% of our kids are reading and doing math at grade level.
Wow.
And now some people will say, well, we're better than 90% of the rest of the state. Okay.
But that's still not acceptable.
Yeah.
We're the best of the worst.
We're the best of the
I'm
worst.
curious what it was maybe, let's say 15, 20 years ago without all the woke ideology.
Well, it's interesting because they want to blame a lot of this on the pandemic. The current board wants to blame it on the pandemic. And yes, there was a drop. They're the ones that kept our kids out of school for a year, and they're the ones
Oh,
that
I know.
kept our
I
kids
talked
masked
to
for
a
year.
lot of Barrington parents and when we tried to reopen Illinois schools.
Absolutely. And this really started in about 2012, 2014. I have the stats up, the Illinois State Board of Education. This really, our community in Barrington started to decline about 2012, 2014. So someone really needs to look at what changed in 2012, 2014. I know that's when we started to give computers and iPads, and maybe our instruction methodology changed in the classroom a little bit, and maybe we got away from, I don't want to go back to archaic methods, but maybe we got too far away from pencils and books, and we got onto an iPad.
And also Common Core. The Common Core.
Common Core.
And a lot of that started to come in. So that's where we really got to dig in and figure out how we manage our curriculum from a policy standpoint while giving our teachers the support to make sure that they can actually teach in the classroom and not be, this book has taken over our education system in Barrington. That's all the discussion. But we got to get back to other things. Let's write a policy. Let's get that put to bed, and then let's get on to the real issues of educating our children where we aren't doing it right.
So, Matt Sheriff, I want to bring you back into the conversation. What's your ground game between now and 2 weeks from Tuesday, right? But early voting begins on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very fortunate because the great part about Barrington is that the community is very involved, and we've got people from the community with boots on the ground out talking, knocking on doors, putting signs out, asking people to vote, grab a neighbor, go vote, talking about what issues are important to them. I mean, we've been working on this for months, and we've got some great support locally. So it's all about, at this point, it's about getting people out to vote, and it's about getting, your friends and neighbors to go out and vote too, because traditionally conservative people don't vote in local elections. So what we're saying is, if you're not happy with what you're seeing, get out and vote, make a difference.
And you don't have to have a child in the school district. You just have to live in the District 220 to go vote. Yeah. So are you knocking on doors? Or you?
We are. We've been out every weekend. We have our precincts divided up. As Matt said, we've had people on the ground for about a month every weekend out knocking on doors, sending out mailers. Yeah. And we have our Facebook page. If you have any questions or concerns, you can get on our District 220 slate, Board of Education slate, and ask us questions. We'll be happy to respond. I want grandparents to get out and vote because this is a destination district, and oftentimes people leave, go to college, they spend a couple years, and then they bring their family right back. Matt's a classic example. He moved in 4 years ago into the Barrington district because of this. So
it's
everybody needs to get out.
It really is. What's your early vote plan though? Do you guys have one? I think because a lot of people have made a lot of issues with the mail-in ballots. We already know who has requested a mail-in ballot. We know who normally votes early. Have you guys put together a plan to, as soon as that ballot hits that person, you guys are touching that door, you're saying, hey, I'm here, I'm on the ballot, would love your vote. What's your plan?
So we have been reaching out first and foremost to the permanent mail-in ballots. Those we started reaching out to, knocking on doors, emailing, because those hit in February. People started getting those. So for well over a month then, we've been trying to hit those people. So that's really been the biggest thing. And then going forward, I think a lot of it is going to be this, rallying people to get out the vote. We have a big event tonight. We have an online forum Sunday night we're doing, again, trying to get people kind of rallied up. We're having an event Sunday afternoon in South Barrington at a local coffee shop there. Monday afternoon, we're doing an event targeting moms with little kids, trying to bring some awareness there. So that's really our biggest thing, is just trying to do that word of mouth events, going into the community where people are. Yeah.
All right. So again, the lineup, Leonard Munson. I want everybody to write this down or get it in your brain. Leonard Munson, Katey Baldassano, Matt Sheriff, and for the Barrington Library Board, Kelly Dittman, Chase Heidner, thank you, name assassinator here, and Christine Cunningham. Okay, where can they find more information for you, or maybe donate to your cause?
Sure. So we do have a website that's called suburbanactionpack.com. And then for school board, our socials are d22.boe.slate. And we're on Instagram and Facebook. And that's a great way that people can message us, again, ask questions, really engage with us, and really see, again, we're so transparent. You can see exactly what we stand for, what our priorities are. It's all there.
All right. Thank you.
Just real quick. Yeah. I'm glad you guys made that distinction. That is not about banning, but access, because that's what Pritzker said. That's why he called a lot of these people right-wing extremists.
Oh, yeah, this is what he said here.
Your office told us you're very focused on school board races in Illinois to make sure extreme right-wing candidates aren't dominating them. I'm wondering how strong the Republican ground operation is on things like school boards. Is parents' rights really something you think Democrats need to be concerned about on a national scale?
Well, what Republicans are trying to do is, of course, ban books in libraries. They're trying to keep our schools from teaching Black history. They make up things about CRT in schools that just don't exist. And so they've got a lot of extreme right-wing candidates, frankly, on the crazy end of things that are running. And we just want to make sure that people know who they are and know not to vote for them.
But they're not crazy or extreme.
No, crazy. One more time. We just got a text message. What's the website again? They're literally writing this down. So
our website where they can learn about all the candidates is suburbanactionpack.com.
Okay, got it. All right. Thank you so much, the three of you. And thank you, Matt Sheriff. Good luck to you. We may even have you back on the program because this is a big issue. And Matt Sheriff joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
There are more than 40 million people in